Hi, my name is Sarah and I'm with the Pikes Peak Library District. I'm here today to do a craft along with you. It's the felt hand warmers craft. By now you would have picked up your packet at the library branch that includes 2 squares of felt, embroidery floss, a needle and a needle threader, as well as a bag of rice and a bag of lavender. From home, you're definitely going to want to have some scissors on hand. And there's a couple optional items that you could have, like a funnel to help get the items into the hand warmers, as well as essential oils if you wanted to add other scents, or pins to help sew a little bit better. But I don't have any of those optional items on hand, so we're going to go with what's in the kit. I'm going to move the camera, and then I will be back to craft along with you. Have all of your supplies out now, and we're going to start with the embroidery floss. And when you look at the floss, there's 6 different strands that make up the piece of floss. And so what you're going to do is you're going to separate it into 2 sections with 3 strands each, and you're going to separate it out and pull the floss apart until you have 2 different threads to work with. You can save that extra piece for a different project. I don't think you're going to need it on this one. So you're going to sew with these, with one of the bundles. I always wet the end of the thread. It seems to make it a little bit easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this needle threader. You can see it has this diamond piece, and you're going to put that through the eye of the needle. Okay. Then what you do is you put the embroidery floss, through the diamond. I pull it through a little bit just so it's easier to manage. And then you're going to take that needle and slide it across. It can be a little hard, so I try to kind of straighten it out as much as possible, make that floss as flat as possible to make it easier to pass through the eye of the needle. Okay. Once you've done that and you've gotten the needle onto the thread, you can remove the threader and save that for another project as well. So I usually kind of fold my thread close to in half, and you're going to make a couple knots at the end of your thread here. I usually do 2 just to kind of make sure that it's like a nice solid knot, so that it won't pull through the fabric. Something like this, because it's kind of thick, you might even be able to do like a 3rd one. I don't think it'll make a difference. Okay, so there we have the knot at the end of our needle, at the end of our thread. We've got our needle threaded on, and we are ready to go. So you should have your 2 squares of felt. You're going to want to hold those together, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to sew almost all the way around. We're going to leave ourselves a hole to pour the rice and the lavender through, and then we'll sew the hole up after that. So we're going to get started. The way that I like to start, and some people do it different ways, but the way that I like to start is I like to start from the inside, because that puts my knot on the inside. So it just looks a little bit more polished and a little bit more finished. So the stitch that we're going to be doing is called a whip stitch. And so we'll get started. We're going to put the first part of the stitch just through the back piece so that we get our knot on the inside, like I was mentioning. Okay. And then I kind of fold that tail in and hold it into place so it doesn't cause me any problems. So with the whip stitch, what you then do is you've got the thread coming out of the back, right? So we're going to take it and kind of fold it forward a little bit. And our next stitch is going to go in kind of at a diagonal there from where the last one was. You see how that did? One of my biggest challenges when I'm sewing is kind of trying to keep the stitches uniform distance apart and not getting my thread tangled up. And so I like to just pay attention to those things because I know that they're kind of a challenge for me. Now I'm doing my stitches pretty close together because I know that we're putting rice in here, and I know that rice is pretty small, and so that's what I'm thinking about is, you know, what size stitch is going to hold a piece of rice in. So you can see we're just continuing, and I'm always making sure that my thread just got stuck on the needle there, that my thread isn't getting tangled up in the stitch as we move along. And you can see how I'm kind of adjusting them a little bit to make it a little prettier. You don't have to do that, but it's a nice effect. So we're just going to continue doing the same whip stitch motion around the edge on 3.5 of the sides basically, and get us to the point where we just have an opening that's about half of one of the sides for us to pour in the rice and the lavender. So I'll work on that on my own. You can work on that as well, and let's meet back when it's time to pour the rice in. Okay, so here we are, having stitched around most of the felt. You can see I got a little bit uneven down here. I don't think anybody's going to notice. I don't think it matters. So if you got a little uneven on your stitches, I wouldn't worry about it either. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add rice to the hand warmer. So we're going to open that hole up. And I don't have a funnel on hand, so I'm just going to kind of like use the Ziploc bag, kind of like a little spout, and pour it in there. And you might need to like shake it in and work it down in there a little bit. Maybe get the pieces that you missed if you missed any like me, and keep pouring it in there. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's not art if it's not messy, right? So at some point while you're pouring it in, if you'd like to use the lavender to give your hand warmers that scent, feel free to pour some of the lavender in as well. When that's heated up in the microwave, it's going to become even more fragrant. So I'll just do a little bit of it. The lavender scent is something that will fade over time, so that's something to keep in mind too. But just because we provided all of these supplies doesn't mean that you have to use all of it. You can choose how much seems like the right amount for you. I think we're going to have a lot of rice left over too. And I'm just going to mix those up in there and get the lavender evenly distributed through that rice. Okay. And I'm just going to keep pouring the rice in until we kind of get to the puffiness of the hand warmer that I'm looking for. But I still want it to be easy enough to finish sewing. So I want like a nice thickness, but not bulging too much. But we still have quite a bit of room in there, so I'll keep adding a little bit more. All right. Yeah, I think that's about good. You can see how that's plump, and that would feel good in the pocket of your hoodie to have your hands on. It's kind of poofy there, but it's not like bulging out. I think that's right about where we want it. Okay, so we're going to finish sewing this up here, and I'm getting pretty close to the end of my floss, so we'll see if I make it. It'll probably be just perfect. All right, so we're just gonna get that shut, tuck in the tail of that knot a little bit. There we go. All right. And so I'm gonna get to the corner here, and we're gonna do a knot in our floss. So I'm gonna go to the back side, and we're going to run the needle through this last stitch. I got a little bit of the felt, but I think that's okay. And then, ooh, that thread is confusing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the needle through this loop of the thread here, and we're going to pull it through that loop. What that's going to do is it's going to make a knot, and you can see the knot traveling down and tightening up right here on this last stitch. And I usually do that twice. It's probably not necessary to double knot that because that's a pretty good knot, but I guess I just like the insurance. So we'll do that again. And then you can cut that thread pretty close to that knot and you're in good shape. So there is your felt hand warmer. You can fit both hands on there pretty nicely. It's a great size. So when you want to actually use it as a hand warmer, the instructions are to microwave it for 15 to 20 seconds and kind of test and see if it's the warmth that you want. And just make sure not to exceed 1 minute on how long you're microwaving it. So this is something like what your finished product will look like. It's not perfect, and it doesn't have to be, but it's fun. And I found it kind of meditative to do all of that sewing, that repetitive motion. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, my name is Sarah with the Pikes Peak Library District. If you do this craft with us, please take a picture and post it on your social media and tag us. We'd love to see it. All right, see you next time.